Member for Saanich North and Islands.
Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill entitled Wildlife Amendment Act, of which notice has been given in my name on the order paper, be introduced and read a first time now. For over 20 years, experts have been advocating for laws to protect bear dens in British Columbia. But the province continues to lack a comprehensive legal protection for bear dens. Despite legislated protections in Haida Gwaii and the Great Bear Rainforest, much of the province continues to lack these mechanisms to protect these essential habitats. As a result, bear dens have been left to a patchwork of policies by logging companies which are inconsistent and unenforceable. Earlier this year, the Environmental Law Centre at the University of Victoria and the BC Sierra Club published a study recommending provincial legislation that protects bear dens. The Act before us today makes these essential changes. It sets out that if a person disturbs, molests, or damages or destroys a bear den, they have committed an offence. Further, this protection stands on both Crown land and private land, which is an essential component given the proliferation of private managed forest lands in pockets of British Columbia. We are currently living through the 6th mass extinction caused by human activity, and it's more important than ever to protect the biodiversity of our province. And this includes protecting bear dens, where bears hibernate and birth and raise their young.
Members, the question is the first reading of the bill. All those in favour indicate aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Member.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill placed on the orders of the day for second reading at the next sitting of the House after today.
You heard the question. All those in favour indicate aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Member.
Mr. Speaker, I move that a bill entitled the Corrections Statutes Amendment Act 2023, of which notice has been given in my name on the order paper, be introduced and read a first time now. I reintroduce this bill in this House to continue to raise attention to the human rights of British Columbians held in corrections facilities. On any given day, like today, there are 33 individuals in solitary confinement who have been there for longer than 15 days, some longer than 60 days. Both adults and youth are subjected to this reality. Solitary confinement disproportionately impacts Indigenous people, in particular Indigenous women and girls. Close to a quarter of people in solitary confinement in this province identify as Indigenous, making up only 6% of our province's population. In February of last year, the Union of BC Indian Chiefs called solitary confinement, quote, a re-traumatizing, abusive, and colonial form of control over Indigenous bodies. This bill seeks to prohibit the use of prolonged solitary confinement and change standards of living for people in the justice system. This bill prohibits a person from being held in solitary confinement if they are pregnant, at risk of self-harm or suicide, have a prescribed disability, or require medical observation. Finally, this bill requires the Provincial Director of Correctional Centres to publish annual disaggregated statistics on the number of individuals held in solitary confinement. This bill follows advocacy from the Union of BC Indian Chiefs, the BC Ombudsperson, the BC Representative for Children and Youth, and a decision from the BC Court of Appeal. I want to thank the Campaign for the Abolition of Solitary Confinement for their continued advocacy and work to keep this issue in discussion. Thank you to the members of this chamber for their consideration of this important work, and I hope to debate this bill at second reading.
Question is the first reading of the bill. All those in favour indicate aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill be placed on the orders of the day for the second reading at the next sitting of the House after today.
Member, you heard the question. All those in favour indicate aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Member.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that a bill entitled Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Amendment Act, of which notice has been given in my name on the order paper, be introduced and read a first time now. In 2021, the government amended the Act to allow public bodies to charge an application fee for making a Freedom of Information request. I was a member of the Special Committee to review the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act and heard from many organizations and individuals who opposed the introduction of an application fee. The Special Committee recognized that access to information is vital for promoting trust in public bodies. The committee heard that secrecy of information can undermine democracy and lead to extremism, and that conspiracy theories and extremist ideologies can arise when citizens do not have access to information held by the government. The Act before us today aims to improve access to information. It sets out to remove the application fee for Freedom of Information requests. These amendments are in line with the sharp criticism from the BC Information and Privacy Commissioner, Michael McAvoy, who strongly indicated that the $10 fee to access information was not in the interest of the public. He noted that political requests were already in decline before this fee was introduced, and following the fee, journalists, researchers, and community groups felt the most significant barriers to getting public information. Right now, there is a waning public confidence in democracy, and in a time of growing fear and misinformation, in a time when people are more likely to believe in conspiracy theories and less likely to trust their government. This assembly needs to be held to a higher standard. The truth needs to be readily accessible and available.
Members, the question is first reading of the bill. All those in favor indicate aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Member.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the bill be placed on the orders of the day for second reading at the next sitting of the House after today.
You heard the question. All those in favor indicate aye. Opposed? Motion carried.